even further. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Tel Aviv.
Let's get more on the ceasefire and the conflict now. We have Tal Heinrich with us. She's a spokesperson for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Tal, very good to have you back on BBC News. We know that negotiators are working hard behind the scenes. It could be that we might see a further extension of the current truce. Should there be another extension?
We certainly hope so. Thank you for having me on tonight, Sumi. I can confirm at this hour that Israel has received another list of potential hostages who may be released tomorrow. We have received the list. We are notifying the families of the people who appear on the list and all other families of the hostages who are still being held in the Gaza Strip. Right now, we're talking about 173 hostages who are still there. And we certainly hope that this materializes tomorrow and that we will see, hopefully, a sixth group of hostages leaving the Gaza Strip and returning home to Israel. So we said that we are willing to extend this mechanism, as we saw today, what took place today. And for every 10 extra Israeli hostages that Hamas will release, we agreed to another extra day of a humanitarian pause in the fighting. Now, I can tell you that it's an interesting development that today we saw that the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the second largest terrorist organization in Gaza, one that is fully funded by Iran, they put out a statement that among the hostages that were released today, some were also held by them. This is what the Palestinian Islamic Jihad are saying. Now, your reporter mentioned a 10-month-old baby Kfir Bivas and his family. And according to the IDF spokesperson in Arabic, Avichai Aderi, this family is being held by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
So can you tell us, Tal, on that list of people who are going to be released, as we're sitting here in the U.S., first of all, is that 10-month-old being released, and are Americans on this list?
No, I can't say, I can't provide any details of this kind because, you know, human lives hang in the balance here and it's all very delicate and very sensitive. We have a procedure in place by which we do these things.
Sure, I understand that. So looking ahead, we know that, as you said, there is interest on both sides to have this ceasefire extended, to have more hostages released. At the same time, your government and your prime minister have said this fighting will resume. Are you worried that those words could derail any further efforts to extend a ceasefire and to get more hostages released?
No, we don't see these two goals that we have defined to this operation as contradictory. They actually go hand in hand. We said that we will eliminate the Hamas terrorist regime in Gaza and that we want to see all hostages back. We are determined to bring each and every one of them home, and we will do that. You have to remember that, as President Biden stated correctly just a few days ago, Hamas only responds to pressure. Military pressure and also diplomatic pressure that we're exerting in various ways behind the scenes. And we saw the results of both pressures. We wouldn't have been able to bring to the release of the hostages, the 5 groups that we saw so far, if it wasn't for the military pressure that we exerted on Hamas.
So let me ask you this, Tal, because we also saw the National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby saying today, if we're talking about military pressure, he said that now that there are more Gazans in the south, there is an added burden on Israel to account for extra innocent life in the south in any operations. We know from our own journalists on the ground that there have been strikes in southern Gaza as well. What will this mean for an eventual continuation of Israeli operations?
We don't want to see any Palestinian civilians getting caught in the crossfire. Not in the north, not in the south, not anywhere.
Tal, we've seen reports of more than 14,000 people killed, more than 5,000 children. How does that add up with not wanting to see civilians caught in the crossfire?
First, these are numbers that were provided by Hamas. We should remember that, and we take them with a grain of salt, because according to Hamas, no terrorists were eliminated whatsoever, almost in Gaza. And I can tell you that we eliminated thousands of terrorists, including several Hamas top commanders as well. But we have designated special safe zones in the southwest and also in different neighborhoods, and the Palestinian civilians, they know because we notify them in various ways, and we repeated multiple times. And once the military activity will resume, they will know where to evacuate. And these are safe zones where we also see the humanitarian aid coming in.
Tal, let me ask you one more question back on the hostages, because that is, of course, what we're all going to be watching closely over the next few days. Once women and children are released, that is perhaps the easier part of these negotiations. Then it will come to the remaining hostages. What happens then? How do you get past that?
Well, I can't really reveal the tactics and the strategy behind the Israeli efforts to bring back all hostages home. Everyone knows that it's a very complicated situation. We didn't want to be in this situation, yet here we are. But we are very, very committed as a nation to this principle of leaving nobody behind. And this is exactly what we intend on doing.
Okay. Tal Heinrich, thank you again so much for joining us on BBC News Tonight.
Thank you, Sumi.
Now, the Gulf state of